So, in the last lecture, towards the end, we stated that the amount of oxygen that is carried by hemoglobin, it depends on the partial pressure of oxygen. What is this partial pressure of oxygen? It is nothing but the number of free molecules that are present in the plasma. More the number of free molecules, more will be the partial pressure, and less the number, less will be the partial pressure. So this PO2, it affects the transport of oxygen in the form of what is called oxyhemoglobin. Now how does it affect and what is this relation with this oxyhemoglobin? This is well explained by the curve, and name of the curve is oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. We describe or we discuss this curve under three headings. Number one, how to draw this curve. Number two, what is the benefit of this curve in the resting state? And number three, what is the benefit in the extreme conditions? For example, in the exercise. So this is how our discussion will be on the curve. How to draw this curve? This curve is drawn with the horizontal axis that is showing the partial pressure of O2. And it is calibrated in the multiples of 10 from 10, 20 all the way up to 130 millimeter of mercury. On one vertical axis, we are having the saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen, and that is in the percentage form. And the scale is calibrated as 10, 20, 30, so all the way up to maximum of what? The 100%. So these are the two scales. And for better understanding of this curve, we are drawing one additional scale, and that is the one vertical axis, and that vertical axis, it is stating how much amount of O2 is present in 100 ml of blood at a particular PO2. And this scale is calibrated as 2 ml, 4 ml, 6 ml up to 20 ml of O2 per 100 ml. So these are the three axes, and with these three axes we are plotting the oxygen, or we are plotting this curve. To plot this curve, just mug up four values, or just have the four reference values. And what are they? The first reference value is that at the partial pressure of 95 millimeter of mercury, hemoglobin is 97% saturated. At 60 millimeter of mercury, it is 90% saturated. At 40 millimeter of mercury, it is 75% saturated, and at 26 millimeter of mercury, the hemoglobin is 50% saturated with oxygen. So we plot this, we put these values on our graph, and this is how the first value at 95, it is 97% saturated. This is first point. Second point, at 60 millimeter. At PO2 of 60 millimeter of mercury, it is 90% saturated. At PO2 of 40 millimeter of mercury, it is 75% saturated. And at PO2 of 26 millimeter of mercury, it is 50% saturated with oxygen. So these are the four reference points. These are drawn, and now we join all these 4 points. So this is how these 4 points are joined. Then we extrapolate this line upward, and it is reaching to the 100% saturation. Then we extrapolate this line downward towards the point of 0, and this extrapolation is done not linearly but slightly as a concave curve, that is, it is having slight concavity towards the end. So this is how the curve is drawn. Now we try to explain this curve. As the partial pressure of oxygen is increasing, there is the increase in the saturation of hemoglobin with the O2. But this relation is not linear one, but it is taking the S-shaped appearance, or it is taking the sigmoid shaped appearance. So this sigmoid shape, it is having very lot of benefits in the delivery of oxygen to the tissues. So now we come after the how to draw this one. We come to the next point, and the point is what is the benefit of this curve in the resting state. Right now, you all are in the resting state, in the ambient condition. At the arterial end of your arterial end of capillary, partial pressure is 95 millimeter of mercury, and at the venous, when the blood reaches the venous end, it falls to 40 millimeter of mercury. And in the last lecture, we saw that this is delivering about 5 ml of O2. This is delivering about 5 ml of O2. So we try to plot this on the graph. At 95, it is 97% saturated, and at that 97% saturation, the 100 ml of blood, which is containing 15 gram of hemoglobin and 1 gram of hemoglobin, is combining with 1.34 ml of oxygen. That 100 ml of blood will contain around 19.4 ml of O2, or roughly say for simplicity, it is 20 ml of O2. Now, when this blood it reaches the venous end at the pH of 40 millimeter of mercury, that time it is 75% saturated and it contains around 15 ml of O2. That means this is how the 5 ml of O2 is delivered to the tissue. Okay. So, since you are in the resting state, now what is happening is that from the tissue level, blood is going to the lung, getting oxygenated, and again coming back to the tissue, getting deoxygenated, again going to the lung, getting oxygenated, and this is how this part is now continuing. This part of the curve is now continuing in your body right now when you are in the resting state. Now the question does arise, sir, if it is the only thing that is required, then why do we have this steep part? This steep part is having its own benefit. Now, to explain this benefit, what do? We take one example. You are taken to the high altitude, say for example at the height of 11,000 feet. There the partial pressure of oxygen in the air itself is reduced. We are taking this air which is having less O2, and naturally the partial pressure of O2 in your blood it will fall. Supposing it is fallen to 40 millimeter of mercury. It is fallen to 40 millimeter of mercury. Will this blood be able to deliver the required amount of O2, that is 5 ml of O2 to the tissues even at this high altitude? At 40 millimeter of mercury, it is 75% saturated, and right now at high altitude, your blood is containing, at arterial end, it is containing 15 ml of O2 per 100 ml. Now, what is the need? The need is 5 ml of O2, because even in the high altitude, you are still in the resting state. The need is 5 ml of O2, that is 15 minus 5, at that state, here you have to take this value up to 10. So when that 5 ml is to deliver this at 10 ml of O2, how much is the PO2? PO2 has fallen to 25 millimeter of mercury. It is fallen to 25 millimeter of mercury. That means that when you were at the sea level, to deliver 5 ml of O2, PO2 should fall from 90 millimeter of mercury to 40 millimeter of mercury, that is by the difference of 55 millimeter of mercury. But when you are exposed to the hypoxic condition like the high altitude, just to deliver the same amount of O2, that is 5 ml, the PO2 is falling from 40 to 25 millimeter of mercury, that is with just by 15 millimeter of mercury. So when you are exposed to the situation of hypoxia, that time small change into the partial pressure is required to deliver the required amount of O2 to the tissues. So this is the beauty of this hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is not only acting as a carrier of oxygen, but it is also taking care that sufficient amount of O2 is delivered to the tissues even in the adverse condition, even in the hypoxic condition. So that is why it is the caretaker. That is why it is also known as tissue oxygen buffer. What it is also known as tissue oxygen buffer. So this is all about how this curve it operates in the resting state at the sea level as well as at the high altitude. Now coming to the next one, that is, what is the benefit of this curve in the extreme situation, for example, the exercise. Now, we replace this cell, what is called our skeletal muscle. Now, this is the skeletal muscle that is working. Remember this. When the person is engaged in the exercise, the mild to moderate exercise, the demand of O2 is increased. Supposing it is increased to 10 ml. Okay. So to deliver 10 ml of O2, what should happen into the curve? At 95, it is containing 20 ml, and to deliver 10 ml of O2, it should fall to the partial pressure, that is 25. So it is to deliver 10 ml of O2, the PO2 should fall to the 25 millimeter of mercury. But what we do? We measure the partial pressure of O2 in the artery, and we measure the partial pressure of O2 in the vein, and what is seen is that partial pressures, they are normal, that is 95 as well as the 14 millimeter of mercury. That means that something extra has happened in the body that is allowing this 10 ml of O2, that is extra ml of O2, to be delivered to the tissue. What is this time? What is the change that is happening in the body? When the muscle is exercising, this muscle, it produces more CO2. It produces many acids, that is the H plus ion, and there is increase in the temperature also. These things, they enter into the RBC and combine with the oxygen, and the affinity of hemoglobin for the oxygen, it is then decreased, and it causes easy delivery of oxygen to the tissues. Okay. So how do we plot this curve? How do we plot this on the curve? Because of binding of CO2 and H plus ion, the curve is shifted towards the right side. The curve is shifted towards the right side. So this is the shifting of the curve on the right side. Now, we want, what is the demand of the skeletal muscle? Demand of the skeletal muscle is 10 ml. So with all the pressures being 95 and 40, this 10 ml is being delivered, you just see. At 20 ml, at 95 ml, it is say around 20 ml, and to deliver 10 ml of oxygen, how much is the fall in the PO2? PO2 is fall up to 14 millimeter of mercury. No change in the PO2 at arterial end, no change in the PO2 at venous end, still the extra amount of O2 is delivered, and this is delivered just by shifting the curve to the right side or the down side. So when the curve is shifted to the right side, the affinity of hemoglobin for oxygen, it is decreased, and it holds less O2 but delivers more and more O2. So now, what are the factors which have shifted the curve to the right? Number 1, increase in the CO2. Number 2, increase in the H plus ion. And number 3, increase in the temperature. Now, your exercise is more severe, intense exercise. Now, the demand of O2 is now increased from 10 ml to 15 ml. How that 15 ml will be delivered? And to deliver this 15 ml, the curve is again shifted more towards the right. So curve is shifted more towards the right, and this is how it is shifted. Okay. So now we say to deliver 15 ml of O2, what changes have happened? The 15 ml means 20 minus 15, that is, we should reach the 5 ml. And at the 5 ml, how much is the saturation? This is the saturation, and how much is the PO2? Again, the PO2 is what? 14 millimeter of mercury. No change in the PO2, but there is no delivery of O2 just because of shifting of this curve. This is the beauty of this hemoglobin. Whatever be the situation, it gives sufficient amount of O2 to the tissues. Now, are you getting me or not? Or it is getting some fast? Because now the point that I am telling, this is very interesting. We get up in the morning, listen carefully, we get up in the morning, we start our activities, we go downstairs, we come upstairs, so there is increase, there is change in the metabolism. there is increase in the metabolism and there is increase in the demand of O2 also. So this is our normal curve at the resting state. The curve that is shown in the pink color, it is the normal curve at the resting state. But when we start our routine activities or going downstairs and upstairs, it is slightly shifted rightward. And once the activity is over, again we come to the resting state and again this curve is shifted to the original one. So this curve goes on shifting from the original one to the right side to the original one. See, this shifting is going on. That means that this curve is never in the static position. It is always in the state of dynamic. It is always in the dynamic state. Okay. So remember one thing. This curve is never the static one, but it keeps on shifting this way, and that is why it is in the state of dynamic. This is the dynamic action. Now, when we say one point was missed in the severe exercise, the severe exercise we said that curve is shifted more downward. This more downward shift is done by one additional factor. Name of that additional factor is the 2,3-DPG. That is 2,3-diphosphoglycerate that is formed in the RBC and the byproduct of glycolysis, and that combines with the hemoglobin and further decreases the affinity of hemoglobin for the group. Okay, this was the point of missing. Now we come to one term. Name of that term is the Bose effect. This is already discussed, but question may be asked separately on the Bose effect. So what is this Bose effect? When the oxygenated blood it reaches the peripheral capillary, the CO2 from the surrounding muscle, it enters into the blood, enters into the RBC and combines with the hemoglobin. CO2 combines and H plus ion also combine. Now their combination decreases the affinity of hemoglobin for the O2, and O2 is then released and it is then delivered to the cell. Now this RBC with CO2 and O2, it enters into the pulmonary capillary. In the pulmonary capillary, CO2 is released into the alveolus, H plus ion is converted into what is called the carbonic acid, etc., and that is then taken care of. Now these two are removed from the hemoglobin. Now the affinity of hemoglobin for oxygen is increased, and thus there is more uptake of O2 at the lung level. More O2 is uptaken and more O2 is delivered, or sufficient O2 is delivered at the tissue level. So this is the role of CO2 in the O2 transport, and this role is then known as what is called the Bose effect. Simply, what is Bose effect? The CO2 helps in the transport of O2, and this is what is the Bose effect. Now, there are certain conditions in which the curve is shifted to the left side. When the curve is shifted to the left side, what will happen? This is how the curve is shifted to the left side. At PO2 of 40 mm of mercury, normally hemoglobin is 75% saturated with O2. But when the curve is shifted to the left side, now the hemoglobin is saturated with 85%. It is now saturated 85%. Now it is holding more O2. That means the affinity of hemoglobin for the O2 is increased. So what are the conditions in which the curve is shifted to the left one? All the conditions which are opposite to the conditions shifting it to the right. That is decreased H plus, decreased CO2, decreased temperature, and one more additional factor, and this is very important, and it is the fetal hemoglobin. We comment on this fetal hemoglobin. Why fetal hemoglobin is having the curve shifted to the left? Because the metabolism of the fetal tissues is very less. Requirement of O2 is very less. So fetal hemoglobin releases the small amount of O2 very slowly and provides the O2 to their tissues. If ever the mother is developing the hypoxia, the fetus will not develop hypoxia because fetal hemoglobin is still having the reserve of O2, and that will provide it to the fetal tissues, and the fetus will not develop the hypoxia. So this is what is the role of fetal hemoglobin, that is it is holding the O2 and keeping the O2 for the for the whenever there is the hypoxic condition. So this is all about the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. And to conclude, we conclude with one term. Name of that term is the P50. What is P50? P50 is defined as the partial pressure of O2 at which hemoglobin is 50% saturated with O2. In this table, we have shown that it is a 26 mm of mercury at which the hemoglobin is 50% saturated. So, in the normal circumstances, what is the value of P50? It is 26 mm of mercury. This is the P50. So, this is all about the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. Now, I don't know whether it is understood or not, but to assess how much is understood, we put 4 questions and answer them into the comment box of the Google Classroom. First question: when the value of P50 is less than 25, that time affinity of hemoglobin is increased or decreased for oxygen? This is first question. Second question: why this curve is not linear? Why it is sigmoid shape? This is second question. Third one: what will happen to the curve in severe anemia? And fourth: what will happen to this curve in carbon monoxide poisoning? Giving you the hint, the affinity of hemoglobin for carbon monoxide is 250 times more than O2. So what will happen to this curve in the carbon monoxide poisoning? So waiting for your reply. Thank you.